Evening. After the cup exertions in midweek, the N-Power Football League returns to the day job. We're a month into the new season and we'll see which teams are setting the early pace. I'm joined by Steve Claridge. Steve will take us, as always, through the day's events. And if there's anything football-related on your mind, then you know what to do. Get in touch with Lizzie.
Yeah, and with less than 3 days to go before the end of this transfer window, who do you think your club should buy to make the grade this season? Who would be your dream signing? Although try and keep it within the bounds of reality. And who are you afraid your club might sell before the 31st? Get in touch. You can text us on 81111 or send us an email to footballleague@bbc.co.uk.
Thanks, Lizzie. Here's what's coming up tonight. Tuffy liked a challenge in his time at Derby County. His son Nigel certainly had one today. His task was to topple the leaders. From the top to the bottom, it hasn't been the best of starts for Paulo Sousa's Leicester City, but they had a chance to get their season going against Reading. You need to get up early to get past the Torquay defence. We'll see whether the Gulls could keep yet another clean sheet and equal a Football League record.
And I'm at the Kassam Stadium for Oxford United against Accrington Stanley. Two teams whose paths have crossed before, but who are playing each other for the very first time.
We'll also bring you the draw for the third round of the Carling Cup a little later, so stick around for that. Before that, though, to Pride Park, where earlier this week a statue was unveiled to commemorate the significant achievements of Brian Clough and Peter Taylor. Well, Derby, some of you may remember, became champions of England back in 1972 under those two. Well, it's fair to say times have changed since then, as Derby, now coached by Brian's son Nigel, look to bring back the good times. They faced a tough test on Saturday against league leaders QPR. Commentary comes from Martin Fisher.
Two sides separated by just 1 point and one place below halfway last season. But while QPR have set off like a train with 9 points out of 9, Derby County have hit the buffers. 2 defeats in a row for them. What's more, they haven't beaten Rangers on their own soil for 20 years. Still without last season's top scorer Rob Hultz, Nigel Clough will again play Dean Moxey up front. He scored last week, but is a left back by trade. Captain Robbie Savage makes his 100th appearance for the club. Queen's Park Rangers also unchanged, with Matthew Connolly again deputising for the injured Fitzhall in defence. Number 7, Adel Tarapt, has been making the headlines. Goalkeeper Paddy Kenny is yet to concede a goal since rejoining boss Neil Warnock. It's a steady rebuilding programme at Pride Park. Steady hand of Nigel Clough at the tiller. Tarapt. Savage can't stop him, and Tarapt glides through. What a good run! Fine save by Bywater! And there were Derby bodies diving in to prevent the rebound and finding the back of their net. Well, that's what this fella is all about. Twinkle toes, delicious control, gets the shot away, it's on target, it's a good stop by Bywater. Savage for Brayford. Savage to centre. On by Moxey. It might fall here for Green. Why didn't he hit it first time? Back now for Moxey on his weaker foot. He's right. And QPR can clear. Savage's ball in. Flicked on by Moxey. There's the chance for Green there, but was forced wide by Orr. And then Rangers able to scramble it away all too easily. Green has it again. Good running off the ball by Moxey. Commons is in there. Commons must be! Derby take the lead! Calm finish from Chris Commons. Wonderfully fashioned goal. Moxey and Green at the hub of it. No great reaction from the manager, but plenty from the fans. Green and Moxey with the approach. Commons ghosted in and flicks it home with the left boot. And the leaders, Queen's Park Rangers, concede their first goal of the season. Beautiful ball in by Moxey, and Commons just lifts it into the roof. Derby just can't keep the ball. Green down for Moxey. This time the free kick does go Derby's way. Derby fans have sensed that most of the 50-50s have gone the way of the visitors, but Connolly penalised for that. Savage with the early ball in. Can try again. Martin's first touch. Lovely turn by Shifka. And this is Bailey. Bailey! Oh, what a goal! James Bailey, his first ever goal in his career. Smiles all around, but still the manager tries to stay relaxed. Again, it's a nice move here. Credit Thomas Shifka for his involvement. And when he shoves it back here for Bailey, it's a calm finish. Curls it beyond Paddy Kenny. And the Championship League leaders, 100%ers before today, are 2 down. Derby eager to get on with it. Savage for Martin. Shifka. He looks good. Sifka. Kenny at full stretch. Not sure that it was going to go in, but Kenny wasn't willing to risk that. Free header for Savage. Into space and Moxie. This is Shifka. Sifka for Derby. It's a lovely dribble, it's opening up for him. Bailey's up in support again. Bailey's still there! Well, he's got one, and suddenly there's a sense of more goals in the nostrils of 21-year-old James Bailey. Again, Sifka with the approach work. First effort was a bit embarrassing, the second wasn't. And but for the deflection, Paddy Kenny would have been tested again. Clark forward to Ajimang, up against Barker here, taking him on for pace. Barker forcing him wide, but Ajimang gets one back. And there's an almighty rumpus in the goal net as Leacock and Bywater don't want to release the ball. Ajimang has always been quick, just taking on Barker there for pace. It's a smart finish, just nudges it beyond Bywater. Buzaki. Ajimang now taking on Roberts. His pace is a real cause for concern for Derby. Green in the way, it's a corner. And the Queen's Park Rangers supporters suddenly on their feet in anticipation of a great fight back by Neil Warnock's men. On my watch, we're into the last minute of the 4 promised at the end of this game. Buzaki swings it in, up go the heads, Barker gets the touch, and Derby with a chance to break here. It's Sifka, through the centre is James Bailey. If he uses it wisely, Derby could be in for a third here. There's the pass, Bailey's touch, Bailey has to go himself to wrap it up. Kenny with the save, and here's Ball. First touch in professional football, almost settled the game. And from one end up to the other, Brayford to clear, ball to get hold. Nicely done that by the youngster. Brayford up the line for ball. Overcooked it, out of play. The 4 minutes of added time are up on my watch. Whistles all around from the Derby faithful. All eyes on the man in the middle, Mark Hayford. Play on we go. Leacock can't clear. Roberts can't get it away. QPR are in here, and they've levelled! Jamie Mackie retains Queen's Park Rangers' unbeaten record. Delight for Queen's Park Rangers, utter dejection for Derby County. Pumped downfield by Paddy Kenny. Leacock got underneath it, and Mackie bullied his way past Roberts, and it's a smart driven finish into the bottom corner. You always sense that if QPR could get one, maybe a second would be just around the corner. They've scored twice in injury time.
The game has changed so much now. I think you've got to try and win every game, and when you're down, to hell with it. I even thought about shoving Paddy up at the last kick of the match, but he pulled a great save off at 2-1. Great save. That's what teamwork's about, because Bradley put us in the car with the first goal. He knows he should have cleared that up the line. But it's early days, we're learning, and we've got 7 new players. It's a lot of new players, so I'm pleased.
It's the timing of the goals. which hurts you most. And having got to just about the 90th minute at 2-0, 4 minutes goes up, which was a fair amount of time, we thought. We've not managed to see it through.
I thought we dominated the game from the 96th minute to the 97th.
Never a truer word spoken by Neil Warnock. That was some way to get a result from Derby.
It was. Obviously, this is why Neil wants those one or two players that can make the difference. Squads sometimes do see you through, there's no doubt about that, and he was able to bring on Patrick Agyemang. Sifka did the same for Derby, to be fair. He gave them a little bit of a lift.
Yeah.
And Agyemang did it for QPR and changed the game. That substitution, certainly from QPR's perspective, changed the game.
Certainly a sickener as far as Derby's concerned. And, well, I mean, it was about QPR muscling in, especially from the two goal scorers, right to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, Agyemang, there were warning signs before this, and it's just a long punt forward, as you can see. Ball goes forward, and then they're just competing for it. It's second phase, first phase, and he picks the ball up. Very, very positive. Runs at Bark, he's got too much pace, a lot of power there. It's a good finish in the end as well, because it's going away from him. It's on his weaker foot. And he's being hassled out of it as well, so he hasn't got the balance or composure that he'd like. And it's a neat finish as well. And that put them back in the game, and as I said, once to get one,
the momentum's with them.
Yeah, of course. There's a little bit of inexperience as well in that Derby side, and that shows.
This is a good run.
Yeah, that's a great run. And I mean, Jamie Mackey's never going to give up on anything. He will just keep going right to the very end, as you say. It's a good finish, but I think Dean Leacock will look at that and wonder why he just didn't stand, you know, and maybe let Agyemang bring it down and then work from there.
It's probably the worst possible way to get into an international break for Derby, isn't it? To sit and reflect on
it
something
is.
like that.
I mean, what you've got to say is you've got to admire Nigel Clough because he's stuck to his principles. You know, it's easy to
There's
play
more of a
football.
passing style amongst
Well,
his
there
players
is a
now.
passing
Yeah.
style. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we've seen him 3 times already this season.
You
and
can see the difference.
Yeah, even though the results maybe haven't been coming, you know, they are knocking the ball around. He will not compromise his style, which is good. You know, it's easy when you're winning games to be knocking the ball around, but they're continuing to play that neat passing football. There will come a stage when they'll need to get results if they're not coming. But at this, you know, the way that things are, you know, with no forward, you know,
just like last
certainly
season,
nice to watch. And they're knocking on the door. They're going to get the right results sooner or later. There's no doubt about that.
It is a case of deja vu. I mean, just like injuries cost them last season, it's not had a great start this time round.
There's something to build from, though, isn't
Definitely. Right, now, just 2 years ago, Portsmouth took on Cardiff in the FA Cup final, with Pompey taking the glory at Wembley. Since then, both clubs have been dogged by issues off the pitch. Well, on Saturday, they look to resolve a few issues on it.
The arrival of Craig Bellamy at Cardiff has brought renewed optimism for the club from South Wales. The same can't be said of Portsmouth, who are still in administration and could only name 4 substitutes for this match. Bellamy secured hero status after an absolute belter on his debut against Doncaster last weekend, but that proves he is human. Ultimately, Portsmouth were architects of their own downfall in this match. It started when Mark Wilson was caught in possession and ended with Hayden Mullins' ugly finish past his own keeper. Kind of sums up life at Fratton Park right now. Steve Cottrell's side have scored just 1 league goal so far this season. That tally could have been doubled as the ball sat up perfectly for David Nugent. Outstanding reflexes from David Marshall as Pompey cursed their luck. Early in the second half, slack Portsmouth defending would prove their undoing once again. Bellamy applying the pressure. Just what was said between Jamie Ashdown and Ibrahim Sonko? Not much, apparently, and Jay Bothroyd profited. The 2000th league goal Portsmouth have let in at home. They're winless in the Championship. Cardiff still unbeaten.
I thought the supporters were magnificent. I don't know what there was, 3,500. And they demand that from us now, so we haven't disappointed them today.
It's been a patchy August for Brendan Rodgers and Swansea, but they continued their perfect start to their home campaign by ending Burnley's unbeaten run. Rodgers had been both youth and reserve team manager at Chelsea, where he worked with Scott Sinclair, among others. £500,000 saw the two reunited this summer, and Sinclair made it 2 goals in as many games, capitalising on superb work by Alan Tate. Darren Pratley's also netted a couple of goals already for a club looking much more potent this season than last, and was unlucky not to double the lead before half-time. Burnley had picked up 7 points in their opening 3 matches and should have been level soon after. Chris Iwelumo, the guilty party. The referee was busier than the goalkeepers in the second half. Pratley sent off when this challenge on Tyrone Mears brought a second yellow card. But maybe that challenge robbed Mears of his sense of timing, because he himself was off moments later after a reckless tackle on Nathan Dyer. Swansea held on for a second successive win. Burnley beaten for the first time this season.
When you don't take the chances that we had, you know, we created many opportunities and didn't score. Then obviously towards the end, you know, you have to dig deep and show that resilience as a group, and I felt we'd done that really well.
It had everything today, there's no question about it. It had good football today, drama. It had all the ingredients of what this championship's about.
Eddie Boothroyd's Coventry travelled to the Den for the first time in 5 years, hoping to extend their unbeaten start to the season. Not the easiest place to do it. Millwall haven't lost at home since November. Last season's League One playoff winners have enjoyed a decent start to their campaign. They obviously have confidence playing at home, defeating Hull and Middlesbrough this month. That confidence shown by Steve Morrison's superb work down the left, the unfortunate Martin Craney getting OG next to his name. Coventry came back from 2 down at Watford to claim a point a fortnight ago, and they were level here on the hour mark. Aaron Gunnarsson with too much pace for Darren Ward. David Ford didn't prove much of an obstacle either. But this game was decided by a crazy 7-minute spell in which Coventry self-destructed. Carl Baker was surprised enough his trip on Scott Barron merited a free kick. He'd already seen yellow. That was the end of his afternoon. Not sure he agreed. Soon afterwards, the Coventry defence were caught out by a routine long ball. Liam Trotter not at all bothered by the onrushing Ian Turner, it seems, and he produced the perfect lob. 4 minutes later, the points were wrapped up when James McPake was a bit too eager to get to the ball and clumsily hauled down Morrison in the process. The Welsh international made no mistake from 12 yards out as the Lions maintained their impressive record at the Den and inflicted Coventry's first league defeat of the season.
Last season, Ipswich endured their worst ever start to a campaign. 12 months on, the contrasts are stark. They've already won 4 away games in League and Cup and brought that form back to Suffolk for the visit of Bristol City. Grant Leadbitter's invented free kick, one of 3 occasions in which Ipswich hit the frame of David James's goal, which led a charmed life all day. John Stead had left Portman Road during the week. How ironic that his Robins debut was back at Ipswich, but this was as close as he came to providing an instant reminder of his attributes. And City's luck finally ran out when Liam Fontaine and David James conspired to hand Thomas Priskin the opening goal, his first at Portman Road, more than a year after joining the club. Jason Scotland has arrived as Stead's replacement. It took him 29 games to score his first goal in the league for Wigan, just 74 minutes to do it for Ipswich, whose impressive start continues.
This time last year when we played teams like Bristol, I think we had about 20 chances against them at home. We ended up drawing the game 0-0, whereas this season we've obviously taken a few chances, and obviously there's a feel-good factor. You get a bit of confidence, but listen, being second in the table in August is no good to you. You want to be there at the end of the season.
When you make schoolboy mistakes like we did, it's difficult to come back from, and then unfortunately today we've gifted Ipswich both goals.
A defeat for Nottingham Forest against Norwich would consign the club to their worst start to a season in half a century. Still looking for their first win, last season's playoff semi-finalists were on the back foot early on at the City Ground. Chris Martin showing Kelvin Wilson the meaning of the phrase "to be done for pace," but he couldn't quite make the most of his opportunity. Another chance presented itself from a dead ball situation, but once again Lee Camp's left-hand post came to his rescue. Having gone so close through Chris Martin, it was City's other Martin, Russell, who gave Forest the initiative. A stray arm, Paul Anderson went flying, almost literally, but no doubt in the mind of the referee as he pointed to the spot. Canaries keeper John Ruddy wasn't too far away from Dexter Blackstock's penalty, but not close enough. The lead lasted just 7 minutes though. New signing Andy Croft scored on his debut and he claimed his second for Norwich just before half-time. Nice improvisation with the finish there. The teams rather cancelled each other out in the second half. Grant Holt did have a great chance to put one over his former club, but Camp's outstretched left boot put paid to that and secure a third successive 1-1 draw for Forest.
Coming here, an environment that is a team that just missed out going up to the Premiership, let alone anything else, and for us to come this time last year we were languishing in League One right near the bottom, so an absolute brilliant performance and deserve to win the game.
Well, interestingly, Billy Davies, the Forest manager, said that Norwich deserved to win that game, which is refreshingly honest, isn't it? You don't often hear managers say that about opposing managers. But Forest, I mean, a great result for Norwich, although, you know, like I said about Billy, they deserve the 3 points. But Forest made a similar start last season, but they ended it particularly well, so they can't be too discouraged by what they've seen.
Well, no, I don't think anyone's going to read too much into it after 4 games. Let's be honest, you can be bottom of the league after 5, and, you know, and just purely on bad luck. There'll be teams at the bottom, let me tell you, that'll think, I'll tell you what, we're not far away, we're doing okay, and there'll be teams halfway up the table who think, do you know what?
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of work to do, so let's not read too much into it after 4 games. As we said, they didn't start too well last year, and look what happened. There's no reason why that can't happen again.
Not a great day for Coventry, and not a particularly good day for Carl Baker, who was prolific for Stockport, of course, before he joined Coventry. It's not quite happened for him, but let's just clarify this. I mean, he got a red card. This is his 2nd yellow card for kicking the ball away, isn't it?
Yes, clearly. I don't think he hears the whistle here. I'm not. I mean, it's should we say it's a contentious free kick anyway, and you know that's given away. And as you can see by his protestations there, that I'm not sure that he actually hears the whistle. And if you're on a booking, it's not exactly the cleverest thing to do is to kick the ball away after the whistle's blown. So I think he's protesting there, and I think he's got a case because clearly he doesn't hear the whistle.
Yeah, Eddie Boothwood was also not impressed with that, though, I have to say. But another man who's had a day to forget, David James. Most recently England #1, of course, now at Bristol City. A couple of goals here, which will really, people will start talking about that nickname that he's often linked with.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to watch him, you know, at Portsmouth many times, and he really isn't a highlights player, there's no doubt about that, and particularly when you see games like this where, you know, that aberration for the first goal, and he'll be disappointed with the save for the second as well, because, you know, goalkeepers are judged not on the initial save, but where the ball finishes up as well, and he would have liked to have seen that go to safety, but I would imagine over the period of the season he'll be a good player.
He'll make a difference.
Put it that way.
Yeah, of course. Now then, it hasn't been the easiest of starts for either Leicester or Reading this season, neither of them managing to win any of their first 3 games. Leicester, though, will have been boosted by their midweek Carling Cup win at Leeds, while the Foxes' boss, Paulo Sousa, made 2 changes from the side that started at Ellen Road. Captain Matt Oakley and Lloyd Dyer returning for Michael Morrison and Frank Musa. And 2 changes for Reading also from last weekend's draw with Forest, Brynjar Gunnarsson and Sean Cummings for Andy Griffin and Marcus Williams. Commentary from John Roeder.
Dyer looking to put it onto his left foot. He's still going, Lloyd Dyer. In the end, it was relatively comfortable for Federici. Away from 1 challenge, 2, 3. And it just got a touch off the defender there. Taken down by Sigurdsson. It might fall here for Long. Tashira battling for it. No whistle. Here's Kebe. Oh, it's a lovely chance for Reading, and it's the opening goal from Gylfi Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson, who scored the winner here for Reading last March in stoppage time with a penalty, scores from open play. Leicester wanted a free kick there. If anything, the free kick should have gone the other way. Referee plays advantage, and what a deft finish that is from Sigurdsson. 4 men in Leicester blue were unaware that Sigurdsson was stealing in behind them. Worrying times at the end of this first period for Paulo Sousa. Leicester next to bottom in the championship table coming into this fixture. Oh, what a chance that was. Leicester appealing for a penalty kick. No decision in their favour. Dyer down in the area. Was he fouled here? Certainly there was strong contact from Cummings. Long with a little touch for Jimmy Kebe. Here's Long again. 2 waiting for the pullback. Long went for goal. Logan behind it. McDermott, who's won 12 of his 28 league matches as Reading manager. Dyer. Dyer to have a go. What a goal! What a brilliant goal that is from Lloyd Dyer. He's not scored in his last 16 appearances for Leicester. It's his first goal since mid-February, and what a good run in field from Dyer. He was always looking for the opportunity to unleash the shot, and when he did so, it flew past Federici. Jimmy Kebe looking to take on LeMay. Howard, delicate little chip in, it's only just wide. Sigurdsson looking to just angle that ball into the top corner, and he wasn't too far wide. Sigurdsson through to Jimmy Kebe, chance for a second, Logan out. And that was an excellent block from Conrad Logan. Reading almost through. Howard with a little touch, King forward. Musa involved straight away, little touch from King. Excellent save from Federici to deny Dyer a second goal. Away by Hobbs, corner kick. Brian Howard with the corner. It's 2-1. Matthew Mills. Howard with the corner, and Mills rises high to power the header home. Can Leicester come back again? Howard with a little touch off. Might fall here for Dyer. Howard! Off the line and away. Mills, scorer at one end. Saved Reading at the other. Little touch on towards Fryatt. Mills with the challenge. Corner. And he got the ball there, Matthew Mills, no doubt about that. Header cleared away by Long. Federici this time with the save. And Reading scramble it clear, and they are hanging on by their fingernails. Wellens. On by Howard. Two waiting to go for it. Andy King! Whistle had gone. It won't count. A foul in the penalty area. Oh, was there a foul there? Referee thought so. Whistle had gone about there. So Andy King's final shot doesn't count.
We need to keep at that commitment and that attitude, that belief. But now we need to only to be more clinic and score the goals we create, the chances we create, and of course don't concede mistakes.
There was a bit of anxiousness in the dressing room before. Everybody knows, without talking about it, you want that first win, and I think we should have more points on the table that we've got, but we'll take that today. I thought there was great spirit in our team today.
Yeah, so not exactly a great start for Leicester, but the spirit's all Reading through, up and running, and that's what matters for them. Yeah,
I thought it was a good game. Leicester probably will wish they could start games in the second half, because the three games I've seen them started incredibly slowly. They did again today. And all of a sudden, a couple of changes, tempo goes up a notch, and we got a game in our hands. What I liked about the game was that both sides, even at 1-0, were not prepared to settle for a draw. And you've got to say, Paulo Sousa, I think, echoed my sentiments. They just need to be a little bit more clinical, because they had some great chances. Didn't put them away, didn't get their little bit of luck either. And he had trouble scoring goals at Swansea last year, didn't he?
And didn't concede many.
No, that was the difference. He weren't conceding.
Yeah.
He'll hope for a little bit more fortune in front of goal, I'm sure.
Matt Mills played a crucial role in the game, didn't he? Particularly in that second half.
He was the match winner at both ends, wasn't he? That's a marvellous header. A lot of people will get up, and when you do jump that high, you don't often get that much control on the ball, but he's able to get up, and he almost stays up, and it's an art in itself. I played with a couple who could do it, Timmy Cahill to name but one. This is magnificent, because he never gives up on it. He sees the danger, which is what football's all about. It's not just in the legs, it's in the head as well, as you can see. He jumps over the keeper here, he anticipates the danger. And of course, if Steve Howard doesn't hit it there, he's got no chance, but he does, he's on the line. And in the end, he scores at one end and he saves the game at the other.
So what's gone wrong at your old club, Leicester, then?
I don't think they're a million miles off, certainly not, as I said, on the second half performance, but we've seen two or three lacklustre starts to games, and then it's almost like they have to change a couple of substitutes and the tempo change. So, as I said, they need to start games the way they're finishing them. If they do that, they'll be knocking on the door.
Right, let's round off the Championship then, starting at Vicarage Road, where Watford, who've made an unbeaten start to the season, hosted Leeds.
Watford and Leeds met in the league for the first time since the Hornets beat Leeds in the 2006 playoff final, and revenge has taken some time to arrive. Simon Grayson signed Cardiff's Ross McCormack this week, but he didn't feature as the Yorkshiremen picked up their first away win. Luciano Becchio's header parried into the path of Richard Mailer, who marked his 450th appearance with the only goal of the game. Grayson's men hadn't kept a clean sheet on the road all year, but the combination of good goalkeeping from Kasper Schmeichel and some wayward Watford finishing kept Leeds in front. The Hornets were having one of those days in front of goal, and having been knocked out of the Carling Cup by Notts County in the week, they were unable to protect their unbeaten league record either, with Leeds already looking extremely comfortable with life back in the Championship.
Well, it was a tough encounter. You come into Watford, who have a way of playing, and you have to deal with it. We had to defend in the box well, we had to clear our lines, and when we got opportunities to play, we didn't play really as well as we can do, because we like to think we can get the ball down and play. But to get a clean sheet away from home and get your first victory is very positive and very encouraging.
Leeds came, set their stall out, scored the early goal and were very resilient, but I think on the basis of the amount of chances we had, we should at least have got a point out of that today.
Gordon Strachan's Middlesbrough are struggling to justify their tag of pre-season promotion favourites. Scoring is a problem. Scott McDonald may have netted in the midweek defeat at Millwall. He couldn't repeat the feat here, even with Luke Steele in no man's land. Barnsley managed 1 win in 9 at the start of the previous 2 league campaigns. Victory here would better that, and they were sent on their way by Jason Shackle just before the half hour. That's how it stayed until deep into stoppage time. When Tides midfielder Adam Hamill picked up the ball in his own half, there didn't seem to be too much danger, but the ex-Liverpool trainee kept running at the Borough backline, kept his balance and kept his composure to finish. 2 home wins out of 2 for Barnsley.
Credit to my players because they stood firm. We've kept another clean sheet at home and been one of the promotion favourites, so I'm absolutely delighted, yeah.
Hull boss Nigel Pearson was admitted to hospital after feeling unwell at training on Friday. So it was assistant manager Craig Shakespeare who took charge for the short trip to Yorkshire rivals Doncaster. And they were behind within 2 minutes when Martin Wood's looping header gave Shakespeare the chance to muse over a comedy of errors. Nick Barmby's played more games for Hull than for anybody else in his career. How fitting that his 100th goal should come for his hometown club. He'd been stuck on 99 for 34 games and nearly 18 months. But Hull haven't won on the road since March 2009, and that equaliser proved to be a false dawn. Liam Cooper's handball gave Donny a penalty, converted by their record signing Billy Sharp. And having been knocked out of the Carling Cup by Brentford, Hull's miserable week was rounded off by James Coppinger. 3 wins in 30 is a shocking record, but for now, the health of their manager is of greater importance.
Obviously, when he's concerned about illness and that, they took no risks, and rightly so, and we're hoping he was out tonight and ready for training on Monday.
After gracing such footballing cathedrals as the San Siro, the Nou Camp and the Stadio della Alpi, Edgar Davids got his first taste of Championship football for Crystal Palace at Glanford Park. And the former Dutch international would soon find out how tough life is in England's second tier, Michael O'Connor's free kick serving as an early warning. How would Scunthorpe cope without last season's top scorer Gary Hooper? Perhaps Jonathan Fort is the answer, showing enough strength and agility to turn past Claude Davis and the positional sense to fire home. Fort wasn't done yet, though. Watch this for an impeccable piece of control. Bergkamp-esque, you might say. So was the finish. Scunny 2-0 up at the break. Nigel Adkins' side lost their opening home game to a late Norwich winner, but their supporters could relax in this one. When Fort was brought down for a second-half penalty, this result was never in doubt. Surely he should take the spot kick for a chance to seal his hat-trick? No. O'Connor did the honours It's a third league defeat on the bounce for Palace.
Defeating Sheffield United's last home game led to Blades boss Kevin Blackwell's dismissal. 2 weeks on and Gary Speed took charge of the club for the first time at Bramall Lane. United had lost the first game of Speed's tenure, and they could easily have lost to Preston too, for whom former Blade Keith Tracy came close. Matthew James also denied, as Speed's men rode their luck. Preston went into the game having scored only once in the league, and although Josh King and Billy Jones both failed to improve that record, there are promising signs it won't take long. But this was United's day, courtesy of debutant Jean Calvé, who signed on loan from Nancy this week. Some way to score your first ever league goal in 115 games.
Delighted to get the 3 points, really. Very pleased for the players and my staff who've been a great help the last couple of weeks, and I'm more pleased for them really to get that win under our belt and a clean sheet to boot, which is great.
We're going to have another look at that debut goal from Jean Calvé. What a way to get off the mark. Now, the thing is, not only did he get this into the back of the net, he had to go off as a result of his goal celebration. It brought on some cramp. So clearly his first goal in a while, as they said.
Well, if he's relying on him hitting another one like this, it's going to be another 115 games, isn't it, before he scores on. I mean, what a fantastic strike. There wasn't a lot between these two sides, so they needed something like that. You got the feeling.
A couple of notable results, particularly for Barnsley, facing, well, you know, a club that's seen as one of the favourites for promotion in Middlesbrough. And, Barnsley have shipped goals this season, 7 in all so far, but to get a clean sheet against Borough, no mean feat.
You got the feeling they needed this one as well, Barnsley. It hasn't been the best of starts for them, and, when he took over, had a really good time. It levelled off a little bit, and I think there are probably decent expectations going into this summer because they spent going into this season because they spent a couple of bob over the summer.
Yeah.
So he'll be pleased, Mark Robins, to get that one under his belt. And I'm not quite sure where I pitch them just yet, Barnsley.
No.
Interesting to see exactly where their expectations lie, but I'm sure they'll be away from the bottom, shall we say.
It's almost like one of those seasons where every 10 games they'll reassess where they're going from there on in.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Scunny fans, I know they were dreading how many goals they'll get from their team, losing Hayes and Hooper, who were their top scorers for the last couple of seasons. But Jonathan Forte's come in.
Yes.
He's been there for 3 seasons, playing in the shadow of these other players. Up he pops, 3 goals against Palace.
Yeah, I mean, they look like the Wigan of the Premiership, aren't they? So, unfortunately, if players do well, they will eventually leave sooner rather than later. In this case, Hayes and Hooper were big players, and there's no doubt about that. I think a lot of question marks that needed to be resolved, and Mr. Forte has provided one of the answers. There were some good finishes.
You get the impression Nigel Adkins and the Scunthorpe players, they're often at the start of the season tipped to struggle every season.
Of course,
in that
absolutely,
division.
the smallest club in that
and they
division.
relish having to prove them wrong.
Yes, there is that, of course, and I think when you manage at a club and you work at a club like that, you accept the rules and the regulations that go with it, and that is that, as I say, bigger clubs will take your better players, and unfortunately you have to start again, probably every summer.
We saw Hull come unstuck away to Doncaster, and we do wish their manager Nigel Pearson well after he was admitted to hospital after feeling unwell yesterday. Let's hear from Championship fans. I should think Cardiff fans and Millwall fans have been happy tonight. So, Lizzie, what have you got for us?
Well, actually, let's first of all start off with an update on Nigel Pearson. Hopeful Harry says, get well soon, Nigel, if you're watching. We spoke to the press officer earlier from Hull City, and he confirmed that Nigel had been feeling unwell after training on Friday, suffering from chest pains. He had tests. He's currently still in hospital, though. He hasn't been discharged yet. They're hoping he'll be discharged tomorrow morning, and he'll be back with the team on Monday. Now, let's move on to Barnsley, because it seems that you have inferiority complexes. I have been bombarded with Barnsley fans saying, why don't we get any more of a mention? DB3K says, no doubt plenty of Strachan out emails will be read, but few well done Barnsley ones. One day we might get a little bit more respect. So here goes. Dale says, we're the Arsenal of the North. And Lewis says, it's just like watching Brazil. OK, I think that's enough. But according to Stuart, the same can't be said for Borough. He says, are we ever going to play any kind of creative football under Gordon Strachan? And Ollie says, Middlesbrough should transfer their whole squad. I'd rather have the Stockport team. Lots of happy QPR fans, as you can imagine. Dan says QPR should sign Peter Crouch. Well, there are rumours he's going to leave Spurs, but there we go. Alex says, Derby just needs a striker and a winger. We could push for the playoffs. And to Ben, the Millwall fan who wants Lionel Messi, I said be realistic. RB is a Forest fan. He says, I'd love to sign Peter Whittingham and a centre-back. Mark, though, the chirpy canary, says Norwich don't need anyone. The squad is good enough to consolidate this year and push on next year. Loving that. Jake wants a manager transfer at the City Ground. He says bring on Martin O'Neill. Josh, as Scunny fans, I think Billy Sharp would be nice to have back from Doncaster. Matty, the Ipswich fan, says, I really want to sign up Chopra this season. Lee's signing request, James would like Aliadier, proven goal scorer, championship experience. Matthew, Burnley fans worried that they may sell Chris Eagles. And Ash says, does anyone know what's going on with DJ Campbell at Leicester? He wasn't there today. Well, apparently he wasn't very well, but the rumours are, of course, he's going to Blackpool. And finally, Javier, the Mexican rapster, says the Pompey ship is sinking faster than the Titanic. Man the lifeboats, women and children first. So I'm going to ask you, Steve, you a question. You were at Fratton Park today. How worried should the Pompey fans be? Is it really that bad?
Well, you look at their squad, and certainly the first 11 that they had out, and it was a pretty, on paper, it was a strongish team, but there was absolutely nothing, nothing that indicated that, that they were going to play to their true potential. It was a poor performance, it lacked creativity. Cardiff weren't at their best. Craig Bellamy, I was very impressed with Craig Bellamy, not by what he did, but just kept simple, didn't try and give it the big one. And no, they were poor today, Portsmouth. And there's no doubt they'll have to improve, or this will be a poor year for them, and they will struggle. But you get the feeling with the players they've got, they should certainly, certainly things should turn around.
I think Pompey fans will want the transfer window to slam shut, because I know Mark Wilson, their captain, has been linked with a move to Stoke.
I think he's gone, actually. To be fair, I would imagine.
Okay. Well, on to League One now, and going into the weekend, the team at the top of the table was Carlisle. Well, they were at Colchester on Friday night, and the hosts got themselves ahead through David Mooney on the half hour. But there was late drama. Paul Thirlwell in the 93rd minute meant that the points were shared. Good point this from Carlisle at the day.
It was. They've had a decent start to the season. Watched them last year, played an awful lot of football, like to get the ball down, and they're getting some rewards now for their good play.
Well, that's how it ended at the Western Homes Community Stadium on Friday night. Well, Carlisle's draw meant that the door was open for someone to take top spot. That included Charlton, who made the journey north to Huddersfield.
A meeting of potential table toppers proved surprisingly one-sided as Huddersfield shrugged off a couple of lacklustre efforts to inflict a First League defeat on Charlton. Jordan Rhodes got things started on 39 minutes with his 4th goal in all competitions. The Addicts looked stunned and heads were still fuzzy 3 minutes later. A corner wasn't cleared, George Carey was given time to send in a cross, and nobody bothered to challenge Jamie McComb as he headed in his first goal of the campaign. The Londoners gave their rivals plenty of space for the 3rd goal 8 minutes from time too. There was nobody anywhere near Gary Roberts as he side-footed home first time to confirm Huddersfield's return to form. Consolation from Matt Fry, who came off the bench for his Charlton debut and gave a masterclass in how to ride tackles and then rode his luck with a little deflection. The youngster on loan from West Ham couldn't turn the tide all on his own, but he certainly won't forget his first senior goal.
Yeovil keeper John Sullivan's just extended his loan from Millwall into the new year, which looks a good decision all round. He was the star of the show at Boundary Park to leave Oldham frustrated. Chris Taylor forced 2 of the best saves as the Latics pushed hard to make it 3 league wins out of 4. Instead, they had to settle for staying unbeaten, which boss Paul Dickoff says he'd gladly have accepted when the season kicked off. Yeovil, who'd lost every game since the opening day, hope they've at least stopped the rot.
Hartlepool may have seen off one Sheffield club in the Cup this season, but Wednesday were determined not to go the same way as their Steel City neighbours. Neil Mellor had a hand in 4 of Wednesday's 5-goal haul, his surging run and cross catching out Paul Murray. With the home side still reeling from that blow, Wednesday grabbed a second. This time Mellor setting up Giles Coke for his 3rd of the season. 2-0 in 10 minutes, and the Owls on their way to their first away win since January. Victory was effectively sealed midway through the half, this time Mellor getting on the score sheet himself. Wednesday conceded 4 at Scunthorpe in the Carling Cup in the week, but bagged 4 of their own midway through the second half. That man Mellor causing yet more problems, Scott Flinders deciding the only way to stop him was to bring him down. Marcus Tudgay, subject of a failed bid from Blackpool this week, put away his 2nd penalty in as many games. It's almost 3 years since Wednesday last scored 5, but in stoppage time Clinton Morrison completed the rout. Alan Irvin's men look like the team to beat.
The departure of Brett Pitman may have been a blow to Bournemouth, but it's been good news for the youngster who's stepped into the breach. After a goal against Tranmere last week, Josh McCoy continued the good work just 3 minutes into the clash with Notts County. The 20-year-old who came through the ranks has largely been used as a winger in the past, but has rapidly adapted to the role up front. His second of the match neatly taken. Notts County already in serious trouble, and it seemed sure to be a fruitless journey when they slipped even further behind. Stuart Nelson thwarted Mark Pugh, but there was no stopping Anton Robinson. Despite that 3-goal lead, Eddie Howe felt his side wasn't matching its normal standards, and when Ben Burgess swept in his first goal since joining County, the Bournemouth boss said some doubts crept in. In the other dressing room at the break, Craig Short demanded his players must win the second half. The battle cry didn't reap rewards until stoppage time. Jake Jervis struck the post, and Craig Westcar picked up the pieces to have Notts County all pumped up for a final push. With Bournemouth flustered, they completed an astounding comeback in the 5th extra minute. Kevin Smith making it a much happier journey home to the Midlands for the travelling fans.
The arrival of football in Milton Keynes was mired in controversy. The town had lacked a decent-sized club of its own because Milton Keynes was only founded in 1967.
But the most striking thing about Milton Keynes is its buoyancy. I see it as a city of hope.
The first murmurings of a move for Wimbledon to North Buckinghamshire were in 1979, but it wasn't until 2003 that they moved into the town's National Hockey Stadium. 9 months later, after plunging into administration, they were renamed MK Dons. Legally, the club are a continuation of Wimbledon FC, but they make no claim to their history, trophies or memorabilia, which have been entrusted to the London Borough of Merton. The 22,000 capacity Stadium MK was opened in 2007 and is one of the 15 stadia put forward as potential hosts for England's 2018 World Cup bid. In 2008, MK Dons won their first silverware, the Johnson's Paint Trophy. This season, following in the footsteps of high-profile predecessors Roberto Di Matteo and Paul Ince, their manager is a former non-league centre-forward and Liverpool academy coach. Carl Robinson is also the Football League's youngest manager. How old are you again, Carl?
29.
And they say policemen are getting younger.
Against the run of play, Swindon stunned the Dons with a goal of ridiculous simplicity just before the break. Scott Cuthbert heading in Sean Morrison's long throw. But the Dons hit back with 2 goals in as many minutes, both from the head of Sam Baldock, the smallest man on the pitch. The first from a Dean Lewington cross, and the second moments later as Sean O'Hanlon forced a fine save from David Lucas in the Swindon goal. The little man quickest to the rebound. The luckless Robins remain winless, and just to confirm that this wasn't to be their day, David Prutton was dismissed in the dying moments for hacking at the Dons' double goal scorer and Swindon's tormentor-in-chief.
Yeah, it's been a good week for MK Dons. I mean, obviously they beat Blackpool in the Carling Cup in midweek. The FIFA inspectors have been round, looking at the MK Dons as a possible venue for 2018. And now that win against Swindon, has their start impressed you? Has it surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a difficult one because when they moved to the new ground, they had a couple of really good years, didn't they? Got the promotion, went very close to getting out of this league, and then, you know, Paul Ince coming back didn't quite work out, and all of a sudden you're thinking, our expectations may be a tad high at the club, but it seems to be the pressure off now, and it looks like the players just, you know, are relishing now the environment they're playing in. It looks like it's just almost like a, you know, they can go and enjoy themselves more so, and not feel under maybe the pressure that they were in previous years.
We saw a great comeback from QPR in the Championship, and a similar one this time from Notts County. 2 goals right at the end. I mean, this was fabulous work from Craig Short's men.
I mean, I'm sure, yeah, they'll be patting themselves on the back, but Eddie Howe will be, I would imagine, will be absolutely fuming because, you know, at this stage, going into extra time, you're 2 goals up, you've got to kill the game, and they don't, and particularly the 3rd goal they concede. You know, Jason Pearce, the ball comes into the box, you know, and it's flicked on, and there he's got an opportunity to clear it, and he kicks it against his fellow defender, and and Notts County score. And they're just instances where that little bit of inexperience, can cost you dear at times.
Yeah.
Get the ball into touch, kill the game.
Yeah.
Run the clock down, and you've won the game.
We've spoken about Alan Irvine at Sheffield Wednesday, the incomings and outgoings of players. He says his performances haven't been top-notch just yet, but it's kind of come together against Hartlepool.
Yes, it has, and the big boys are starting to move into gear, aren't they? The Southampton's won today. Sheffield Wednesday, great win for them. I think this is a time when when we start the season, it's very, very even. Everybody's got their full 11 and everyone gets. But as the season wears on, the big squads, the big clubs will come more to the fore.
Yeah.
And as I say, they'll only get stronger. Sheffield Wednesday.
Huddersfield's win against Charlton, certainly confirmation of where they're heading this season. That's for sure. Yeah. More from League One now. We begin the roundup on the South Coast as Peter Reid's Plymouth took on a Peterborough side that had scored 6 goals in the last 2 games.
A meeting of 2 sides hoping for a quick return to the Championship. On this evidence, Peterborough looked the more likely to make a swift return. The potency of their strikers made the difference, Craig McHale-Smith going close to breaking the deadlock at Plymouth. Despite holding on for an hour, the Pilgrims then fell apart, McHale-Smith making the most of Grant McCann's free kick. McHale-Smith's reactions were then razor sharp as he volleyed Posh into a 2-goal lead. That's his 5th of the season. And his strike partner Aaron McLean grabbed his 5th of the season just 2 minutes later to wrap up victory. Plymouth without a win since the opening day. Peterborough march on.
Walsall normally do well at Withdean, victorious in 3 of their 4 previous visits. But Ashley Barnes' excellent volley from Glenn Murray's cross signalled a change in the Seagulls' fortunes. 3 minutes after that goal, Alex Nichols got his marching orders for an off-the-ball, off-camera kick at a Brighton player, giving the home side even more of an advantage for the final 19 minutes. Prone to late lapses at home, Gus Poyet's men badly wanted a second, and Elliot Bennett picked out Marcus Painter to make the points safe. The fullback's first ever goal almost 5 years after his professional debut. In the closing seconds, the referee inadvertently evened up the numbers, setting away Matt Richards, who found John Mackham for an eye-catching goal on his debut. But Walsall's bid for a 3rd successive league win would come to nothing.
Many happy returns to the Memorial Stadium for former Rover Ricky Lambert, very much a saint these days. And it was Lambert's Southampton on the board first. Jose Fonte steering home Jason Punchen's corner, his first goal for the club. Southampton have won 5-1 here last season with Adam Lallana amongst the scorers. No surprise then that he was on target once more, latching on to Dean Hammond's mishit shot on 34 minutes. And no doubt that Saints were on their way to a first league victory of the season just before the hour. Danny Coles clattered into the back of Lee Barnard, setting up the inevitable Lambert moment. The former Pirate had said he wouldn't celebrate if he scored against his old team, and he was pretty much true to his word. Rovers had their moments, but Southampton were good value for this win, Barnard adding the exclamation mark in stoppage time. Saints, pre-season promotion favourites, definitely up and running.
Leyton Orient are finally in business after brushing aside Exeter. Dominant from the start, Alex Ravel put them on course for their first win, glancing in Elliot Omasuzi's cross. The only post-match complaint from O's boss Russell Slade was that the margin of victory should have been greater. Ravel denied his 4th of the season by the woodwork. Exeter's miserable away form shows no sign of improving. This was their 15th attempt at success on the road, but with 20 minutes left on the clock, they found themselves 2 down. Scott McLeish punishing some hesitant defending. Impressive celebrations matched only by the finish of Dean Cox, who sealed a welcome win 10 minutes from time.
Rochdale got off to a flyer at Griffin Park. Andrew Tutt's vicious shot turned away by Alex McCarthy, and Anthony Elding's reactions were too quick even for the camera. Brentford's victory over Hull in the Cup in midweek's been the only bright spot of a poor season so far, though they drew level when Miles Weston teed up Robbie Simpson. But Rochdale had plenty left in the tank, even though they'd had less than 48 hours to recover from their valiant effort against Birmingham. Chris O'Grady restored their lead on the hour. Keith Hill reckons his team was the fittest in League Two last season and believes they'll be able to say the same in League One. The Dow players had to prove it once Jason Kennedy had scored the third. By going to the crowd, his celebration earned him a second booking, so the team had to see out the final 28 minutes of their first league win of the campaign with only 10 men.
Two teams already with the whiff of relegation about them, but at least Dagenham and Redbridge have at last opened their goal-scoring account as a League One team. That honour goes to Romain Vancelot, whose header 7 minutes after the break put the Daggers in front. And a first victory at this level looked assured when Mark Arbour drilled home from a corner 19 minutes from time and then did his own interpretation of the traditional East End knees-up. But John Still's overachievers couldn't hold on to their lead, and fellow strugglers Tranmere gave themselves hope 7 minutes later when Enoch Showunmi's snapshot went in at the far post, his second goal in as many matches. And 2 minutes from the end, Aaron Creswell ended his 16-month goal drought with a beauty, but already these two find themselves without a win and at the wrong end of the table.
Good comeback from Tranmere there away to Dagenham and Redbridge. For Southampton, well, at the end of it, a comfortable win over Bristol Rovers. Interestingly, at this early stage of the season, Alan Pardew called it a must-win game, almost putting pressure on himself and the players to deliver. Yeah, well, there have been rumours, haven't they, that, you know, he's been under pressure for some months. I watched them last week against Leyton Orient. They weren't bad. They didn't get a lot of luck in front of goal. Could have well have got that sort of result against them. As I said, they won't be far away. There's not too much wrong with them. They've got some really, really good players up front. You know, they're well organised. They've got lots of creativity, lots of players who can open you up at that level. They're big and strong, and once they get on a roll, they'll be difficult to stop, and they will be there or thereabouts. There's no doubt about that. It's interesting you mentioned Orient there, who got that point against Southampton, real backs against a wall kind of performance. Comfortable win against Exeter on Saturday. Stephen Dawson, the captain, said these are the kind of games they should be winning if they're to progress. And that was a comfortable win. Another one where you're struggling at a pitch where you're actually going to put them, where they should finish, shall we say, with their budget. But no doubt they are the types of teams that when they play against, you know, they'll want to beat. And that's a sort of similar size club, similar sort of stature. And you would imagine they wouldn't be too far apart come the end of the season. So, yeah, definitely a good game to win. Another team up and running with a notch on the goals for column, or the win column, that is. And that's got to be Rochdale. Mixed day of emotions, though, it has to be said, for their goal scorer, Jason Kennedy. You've got to have a bit of sympathy here for him. First goal for the club. He celebrates with the fans as a result and then gets sent off for a second yellow. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about him, you know, diving over any hoardings or taking his shirt off or anything like that. I mean, he's 10 yards away when he scores it, and all he does is go to them and, you know, and it gives one or two a hug, and, you know, maybe he needed some love. You know what it's like. I just think the referee doesn't usually common sense, does he? I think the referee hands out the second yellow, almost a bit apologetic. What do you do now when you score a goal, for goodness sake? You know, what have you just suddenly got to think, oh, I can't do this because I get sent off? It's ridiculous. I should think you'll probably have prompted a few emails from Rochdale fans. So, Lizzie, is that the case? Yeah, we've had a few, actually. The Rochdale Retriever says, well, he actually wanted to point out that the fans had made a 250-mile-plus round trip to Brentford, and they weren't very happy about their player being sent off. And he says, isn't it about time this stupid rule was ditched? Well, there you go. Now, we've got to give Sheffield Wednesday fans something to cheer about, because they had such a terrible season last season, and clearly these things are going great for them. Luke says, a great win and a good boost for our goal difference. Giles Coke, what a great signing he's been. Kevin says, we have to keep hold of Marcus Tudguy, though. Anne says we could add a centre-back on loan. Someone like James Brewerton from the Welsh Premier League would be excellent. Ash, a Southampton fan, says, get Nathan Dyer back from Swansea. He was lazy when he left, but he's matured now. James, who's a Brentford fan, has a question. What's happening with Brentford? Sort it out, Andy Scott. I'm going to give a little bit of credit to the posh before I get to Plymouth, because there's been a lot of Plymouth emails. Troy says, after a performance like that, we should be back in the Championship. But Jamie, who's a Plymouth fan, says, I was embarrassed and ashamed. It's no good pandering to the collective egos of these players. Nothing less than brutal honesty will do now. And Alex has a question for Peter Reid. He says, can you really turn Argyle around? Jay, a Tranmere fan, is worried that Ian Thomas-Moore might go off to join his dad at Rotherham. There's something about Charlton fans being kicked out of the Gal Farm today. I don't know what that's all about. I've tried finding out. Dalton, who's a Charlton fan, says, today's loss at Huddersfield proves to be
we need more firepower up front. I'll take Paul Benson from Dagenham. Josh, who is a MK Dons fan, says we need a creative midfielder. Shabalaba, the South African international, would do. Joe wants to say to Swindon fans, don't panic, says Joe. We've got one of the best squads we've had in years. Bournemouth fans write the longest emails. Ed says, I can't believe we gave up that 3-0 lead. And finally, quick question for Steve. This is from Brian, who's a Bournemouth fan. He says, do you think players can pick up a reputation for rough challenges that affects a referee's decision? Marvin Bartley seems to have that problem at the moment.
Definitely, yes. I mean, referees get to know players. Some players, will go out there and not intentionally hurt others, but will certainly let others know they're there, and they do that week in, week out. That's the way that they play, and referees do pick up on it. There's no doubt about that.
Is that right, though?
Well, you've got to protect, people. There are people who create and people who destroy, and you've got to make sure you stay the right side of the line. So there's nothing wrong. I was a forward. You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll get a defender in one day. To League Two, then, where the match of the day saw table toppers Torquay away to fourth place Port Vale.
A showdown between two of the early season pace setters, and a win that surely confirms Torquay as genuine promotion contenders this season. It took them just 5 minutes to land the first blow. Chris Zabrowski brought down by Stuart Tomlinson. Captain Nicky Rowe did the rest. The goals on their way to a fourth straight win. Vale were then punished for being too slow with a substitution. With Gareth Owen off injured, Zabrowski poked home the visitors' second on 28 minutes. Torquay's success this season has been built on solid defensive foundations, but for the first time in over 16 hours of football, their backline was finally breached. A stunning strike from Anthony Griffith had Vale back in with a shout. But the 23-year-old's first goal in professional football failed to spark a comeback. Torquay have now made their best ever start to a season.
Struggling Macclesfield had their work cut out at Moss Rose, where the quality of Dean Morgan's wonderful pass even caught out teammate Danny Whittaker. Summer signing Craig Davis completed the job for Chesterfield instead to mark his return from suspension. The home side struck back with some classy football of their own. A flowing move and a perfect centre from Carl Tremarco saw Emile Sinclair clinch a point.
When you're running out of healthy strikers, send out an SOS for the fittest 37-year-old in the Football League. And Paul Warne didn't let Rotherham down with the only goal on the stroke of half-time, his first since last August. But the Millers' man of the match was probably keeper Andy Warrington, who kept the rampaging Bulls at bay in the second half with a string of fine saves. None better than this one to deny James McQuilkin. Another afternoon of frustration for Hereford.
Desperate times for Stockport. Last season's relegation has hit hard and no sign yet of a recovery. No such worries for Shrewsbury, who are making quite an impression. Jake Robinson, left out of their midweek cup defeat at Stoke, fired them ahead 4 minutes before the break. Robinson's strike partner Matt Harrold also missed that game through suspension, and a howler from Danny Swales gifted him a goal just before the hour. The Shrews' unbeaten start in no danger of being halted. In fact, it got better for Graham Turner's men just 5 minutes later. Steve Leslie's clever pass picked out Robinson, who laid it on a plate for Mark Wright. His first since joining on loan from Bristol Rovers. And there was more punishment to follow. 8 minutes from the end, Wright raced clear to leave Stockport still searching for a first win in 18 attempts. Tougher tests lie ahead for the Shrews. Next week, fellow high flyers Rotherham are in town.
Northampton keeper Oscar Janssen will be watching this closely. First time around, he barely saw Andy Sandel's free kick before it hit the net. A ferocious strike. Otherwise, though, Wycombe's finishing wasn't up to scratch. They should have been out of sight by the time Ben Strevens brought down Andy Holt. Kevin Thornton kept his nerve, and Northampton have rescued a point with just 3 minutes left.
There's something about the Gloucestershire air that brings out the best in Burton's Sean Harrod. He scored the winner in this fixture last season and was at it again on 36 minutes, although keeper Scott Brown won't enjoy looking at the replays. Harrod's first in the league this term. The Robins introduced Sean Jeffers in the second half, and what a difference maker he proved to be. First, the wide man laid it on a plate for Wesley Thomas, who doesn't miss those. Well, not very often anyway. But Jeffers didn't lose faith in the former Dagenham man, and with 10 minutes remaining he gave him a chance for atonement, an opportunity Thomas gratefully accepted, his 5th goal of what's proving to be a prolific season. And barely 2 minutes later, Jeffers tormented the Brewers down the other flank. Another killer delivery, met eventually at the far post by the late arriving Josh Lowe. Burton's first loss in the league, Cheltenham back to winning ways after letting in 6 last week at Rotherham.
Yeah, good win after last weekend for Cheltenham, but we have to mention Torquay, who continue to go in their winning ways. I suppose Paul Buckle will want the transfer window to slam shut, so we can just keep together this group of players that have done so well.
Absolutely. Well, I said before, you can't imagine them having the biggest squad. So, you know, to see this through and keep going the way they are, they'll no doubt want to keep players fit. And obviously have the luxury of playing the team that he's got there, because, as you say, there's something good going on down there.
998 minutes later, they've conceded their first league goal.
But they still won the game.
Yes, they still won the game, but it was quite a special goal it needed to breach that defence.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, Anthony Griffiths, good shot from about 20-25 yards, and as you say,
it's not much consolation to Mickey Adams.
No, it's not. You thought you'd need something special to, as you say, break that record.
Yeah, well, it's a special effort. Here's another look at it.
Picks it up. His first touch, gets it out of his feet, and then that you get the impression, it's only single camera, but that does a little bit in the air, and it's a good finish, but not enough to get them back in the game.
Right. Now, Oxford United are, of course, back in the Football League after 4 seasons. Today, United met Accrington Stanley. Well, as Clem mentioned a little earlier, there's something that connects both these sides, but before he reveals all, he wanted to set the record straight about another matter.
A few years ago, I became public enemy #1 in these parts when I reported the findings of a local academic who suggested that Oxford United supporters were the ugliest in the country. I'm happy to confirm that I have now learned the error of my ways, and nothing could be further from the truth. Come on, girls, I'll buy you a hot dog. And so to our matchday feature, and the first ever meeting between two clubs who've traded places over the years. When Accrington Stanley resigned from the Football League in 1962, it was Oxford United who took their place. And in 2006, when Oxford themselves finished in the league's bottom 2, guess who came up to replace them? Oxford's 4 seasons in the Blue Square Premier were the low point of a 24-year period of their history that they have quite literally chosen to forget. From 1986's League Cup win during one of only 3 seasons they've ever spent in the top flight, they slumped to become the first club in English football history that had won a major trophy but lost their league status. Tell us how it was down there.
Oh, terrible. Some of the away grounds were awful, really awful places to go. But this is back to where we belong.
Don't ask. Don't ask.
Very grim, to be honest with you, but we've only been on loan for 4 years, so it's nice to be back.
Is it getting harder and harder for fallen league clubs to get back into the Football League?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. It's the league is just murderous league to get out of. It's a war of attrition week in, week out. You know, you look at the clubs down there now in Mansfield and Kidderminster, York, and the list goes on, Cambridge and Luton, and until you're in it, you don't know how hard it is to be involved in it and to get out of it. And so certainly when the final whistle went at Wembley, it was a great relief to everybody involved.
On the coaching staff at the Kassam Stadium is a member of England's 1958 World Cup squad, and the man credited with bringing Peter Schmeichel to Manchester United. Reputedly the country's first ever specialist goalkeeping coach, he's still going strong at the ripe old age of 74.
OK, let's go! Let's go, let's go, let's go! Well, I can't remember one of them who says, in my day, we did this and we were better. No way, no. The game's progressed so much so, and I enjoy that part of it.
So Hodgie will have been as pleased as anybody to see his goalkeeper keep another clean sheet, but Ryan Clark was kept busy, strong fingertips keeping out Accrington's new signing Terry Gornell. This was the 3rd time this season that both sides have drawn a blank, but not for the want of trying. Oxford still searching for that first league win, went close when James Constable pounced on Jack Midson's knockdown to bring out the best of Ian Dunbavin. Accrington, without an away win in their last 6 attempts, had a chance to snatch victory, but Jonathan Bateson missed the target and the chance to notch his first goal in professional football. Honours even.
John, point on your travels, extending your unbeaten run at the start of the season, not to be sniffed at?
Yeah, we played well in the first half and we never came out second half. You know, our keepers had to make a couple of good saves. I thought in the first half we were going to win comfortably, but, you know, give Oxford the due, they've come out of the second half.
You kept the boys in the changing rooms for a long old time. I'm surmising you're quite grumpy.
I'm always grumpy on as a manager. No, we've not played at all today. We've been outfought, outplayed, outbattled by a team that's, you know, was really dominated us, won every first and second ball, and when they got it, posed numerous problems for us. So I don't think we deserved anything out of the game today.
Has this league surprised you? You were telling us pre-match that the Blue Square Premier did. Has this league surprised you?
No, it's not. You know, we have to be better. I think we are better than what we've produced today. I think Burton, Bury and Aldershot will vouch for that, and Bristol Rovers as well. They'll vouch that we're a decent side, but I think from 1 to 11 and even the substitutes that come on have not made any sort of impact. And I think if I was marking a lot of my players today, there'll be 4s and 5s instead of, you know, 7s and 8s, which you need to win a game.
Pretty honest assessment from Chris Wilder there. Our final roundup now, we begin with the other Football League new boys, Stevenage, who got their first win last week, and they look to build on their maiden victory at Aldershot.
Stevenage boss Graham Wesley is well known round Aldershot Way for his success with neighbouring Farnborough, and his side made themselves at home too thanks to Chris Beardsley. But Shot's boss Kevin Dillon responded by sending on Damien Spencer, and the substitute took just 4 minutes to make an impact. His first goal for the club, and Spencer was far from finished. With the clock running down, he was sent tumbling by John Ashton. After referee Mark Halsey's close inspection of the scene of the crime, Marvin Morgan had the chance to win the match. Chris Day's double save protected a point for Stevenage. Manny Panther's follow-up ruled out for a foul.
Bury worked out at Tottenham Hotspur's training ground ahead of their trip to Underhill, and perhaps some of that Champions League magic has rubbed off on Ryan Lowe, who put the Shakers in front 11 minutes into the second half. Barnet salvaged a point 15 minutes from time when Mark Marshall netted his first goal in senior football, but the Londoners, who only survived on the final day last season, look to have another tough road ahead.
After scoring 7 last week, Crewe was soon back on the goal trail at Lincoln. Ashley Westwood's shot was too hot for Imps keeper Joe Anyon, and Sean Miller had them on their way to a first away win with his 3rd of the campaign. Alex boss Dario Gradi thought Tuesday night's extra-time defeat to Ipswich may have taken its toll. Albert Jarrett made them pay with a combination of speed, skill and step-overs, and a thumping finish to match, his first since joining the club in the summer. Substitute Calvin Zola almost marked his return from injury with the winner, but it finished 1 apiece.
Both these sides suffered extra-time League Cup defeats in midweek, but at Wolves, Southend didn't fold until the very last minute. Barry Corr's first-half goal at Bradford suggested Paul Sturrock's men had taken confidence from that terrific performance. United had forgotten what it felt like to win on the road, but soon after the break, Anthony Grant had them sitting pretty. 8 months after their last away success, Southend set for 3 points, and even the dismissal of Sean Cloherty 13 minutes from time couldn't stop them, the defenders' second booking. Edged out of a cup by Preston, this was Bradford's 3rd defeat in 7 days, a week they'll be glad to see the back of.
Two teams in search of a first league win, and they still are after Morecambe opened the scoring on the hour courtesy of Craig Stanley's first of the season. That was rough on Gillingham, who'd enjoyed the better chances. But justice was done 6 minutes from time when local man Danny Spiller popped up at the far post with a long overdue strike for the Gills. This was the first time he'd hit the target in just over 3 years. Amazingly, Spiller then almost doubled his tally in the dying moments, only to be denied by Shrimps keeper Barry Roach. A long wait for that elusive first win extends into September.
Well, let's talk about Lincoln then, because they managed to beat Gillingham last week after 3 successive defeats in all competitions. That's now 4 points from 2 games. It's encouraging signs for Chris Sutton, isn't it?
It is, and much needed, to be fair. I think they're probably a little bit disappointed with what happened last season. Flirted with relegation. This is a good finish from Albert Jarrett, there's no doubt about that. I was with Albert at Brighton, actually, and yeah, he's capable of things like that. It's just, as you say, at this level, it's getting a consistency to your game, and you can do, that sort of good play.
He's certainly been one of their outstanding performers at Central Bank this season. And what about that result from Friday night, or Bradford Southend? I mean, that was unbelievable. Southend's first away win in, what, 9 months? 13 away games? Bradford, one of the favourites for promotion.
Well, undoubtedly the biggest club in that league. Finished off well last season under Peter Taylor, managed to get him the job. But it hasn't started very well, has it? And, he had harsh words after the game about his players. And
Peter Taylor, they looked frightened. And he said it's clearly not good enough at that point.
Yes, well, if that's the case, then there's plenty of work to be done, because they'll certainly expect to have a good season at Bradford. And to be fair, clubs like that, you need them to have good seasons, because they've been well supported even through the hard times, and they're due a bit back, I'm sure, those fans.
Yeah, applauded so to Paul Sturrock and those 17 registered players he brought in only a few days ago. Now, earlier today, the third round of the Carling Cup, the draw was made for that. And there's a few all-Premier League ties, it has to be said. But there's a few that's caught your eye.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the top one, Brentford. I mean, how many times has that happened where... I think Andy Scott, he said after the game the other day, they hadn't got the results, and then, their performances had given them in the league. So, and that hasn't changed, unfortunately, this weekend. But that's a cracking tie.
As for Notts County, away to Wolves, MK Dons away to Birmingham.
Some good I mean, that competition's cranked up already, hasn't it? There's some great ties.
Yeah.
Even at this early stage.
Not least the North London derby we saw there, Tottenham Arsenal.
Northampton at Liverpool.
Oh, what about that? Northampton, that's what the Cup's about, isn't it? And Scunthorpe at home to Manchester United.
Brilliant. This is, I mean, as I say, there's barely a tie there that doesn't sort of...
just jump out at you.
Yeah, that appeals to you.
Yeah. Let's hear from League Two fans as far as Saturday's games are concerned then. So, Lizzie, what can you tell us?
Well, lots of Shrews fans, or Shrews even, want to rub in today's result to the former manager, Paul Simpson. Tommy says, fantastic win, even sweeter over our ex-manager. Daniel, who's a Southend United fan, says, we're starting to look like an actual team now, but would love to have Freddie Eastwood back. Cameron, who's a Stevenage fan, says, we have a good team already, but I'd like to see Steve Morrison back in red and white. I somehow doubt that. Seems to be doing pretty well where he is. Will says, look at Aldershot, for such a small cash barren club, they continue to perform admirably. No transfer request from Bradley, who's a Bury fan. He just wants Alan Neil to play the strikers he has. That's his message to you, Alan, if you're watching. Poddington the Miller says a great win at Hereford today, and the veteran Paul Warne shows them all how it's done. He's 37, not bad. Tom says Lincoln versus Crewe was a brilliant advert for League Two football. Both teams played lovely passing football. Ryan, who's a Morecambe fan, says nice new ground, but it's time to start scoring. Francis says Wickham needs to get Alex Revel back. He was great for us last season. Chris says he's an Oxford fan. Another draw for them. He says we need to buy a couple of players and make Jake Wright the captain. So many Torquay United fans. I did lots on them last week, but they're all disappointed that they finally let in the goal. Not necessarily about the fact that they've kept their winning record. Simon says don't really want to lose any of the players at Torquay, especially Elliot Benyon. Sam, who's a Cheltenham fan, says near relegation last season. Playoffs this season, joint top scorer in the Football League. Come on, you Robins. Berto says dream signing at Cheltenham would be Joby McAnuff, although he says I don't think he'd want to join. Reese, message for Paul Pescalina. He says hoofball doesn't work in League Two, Pesh. And finally, to Michael, the Borough fan, who texted in. Michael says, to the Borough fan who texted in earlier saying he wanted the Stockport team, you're welcome to them. Please take them. Thanks for those emails. I'll see you next week.
Thanks very much, Lizzie. Well, would you believe it? That's August, already done and dusted in the N-Power Football League. And what an opening month for Torquay in League Two, the only team left with a 100% record. Just behind them are Shrewsbury and Rotherham after good away wins on Saturday. At the bottom, there are 4 sides sitting on 2 points: Morecambe, Macclesfield, Stockport and Barnet. Next weekend, incidentally, Stockport travel to Montrose, with both of those sides looking for their first wins of the season. Into League One, and it's 2 of the relegated sides from last season who lead the way. Sheffield Wednesday and Peterborough getting good away wins yesterday. Carlisle and Oldham are close behind and are still unbeaten this season. Well, at the other end, Brentford and Dagenham are the early strugglers with just 1 point, and Tranmere, Exeter and Swindon are still searching for their first wins of the new campaign. As for the Championship, QPR stayed top after salvaging that dramatic point at Pride Park, but Cardiff and Ipswich joined them on 10 points, with all of those three sides unbeaten, and Millwall, well, they're also up there after beating Coventry yesterday. A poor opening month for Portsmouth and Leicester, who prop up the Championship after both those sides lost at home. In fact, Reading and Sheffield United were the only winners in the bottom half of the table. Now, don't forget, the programme's available on Freeview and the Red Button till midday Sunday, but it is on all week via the iPlayer with match highlights on the BBC Football website. Now, it's International Week, so we'll be rounding up Leagues 1 and 2 next Saturday, and we're on air at 11:20 on BBC One. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks as always to Steve and to Lizzie and to you for staying with us. We'll see you next week. From all of us, good night.